seems like it has all different kinds of subjects, but actually, if you look at it carefully, it's building a very powerful argument. And one of the most powerful arguments that Surah Al-Baqarah makes is the argument of the identity of the Muslim. So when we talk seriously about the identity we have as not just as an individual, but as an ummah, then this is the first and foremost surah that we have to look at. And so I want to first illustrate that there are three main components as far as history before we get to these ayat. And by the way, I'll tell you what these ayat are about in a minute. The earliest story mentioned in Baqarah is the story of Adam and the battle between, essentially there are two camps. There's the side of the angels and there's the side of the shayateen, right? And Adam alayhi salam is right in the middle. And the children of Adam will have to choose whether they will choose the side of the angels or the side of the shayateen. That's what's going to have to happen. Then the story moves forward and Allah gives us a very long history of the Jewish people, the Banu Israel. And as he mentions that story, he basically describes how they were given revelation. They were told how to choose the right side, but ended up following the way of the shayateen. Also, literally in the middle of the passage, وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. They literally ended up following the ways of shayateen. And they ended up not appreciating the guidance that Allah had given. Now, it's important to note that Adam alayhi salam was chosen over all humanity, and actually over all of creation. Adam alayhi salam's choice is a choice over all of other creation. And among his children, this family, the children of Israel, were chosen among all other nations and all other people. So first and foremost, you have the highest choice, Adam, and from within his children, you have the highest choice, Bani Israel. And the choice of Adam was to demonstrate what it means to obey Allah by choice. Angels don't have a choice. Shayateen have a choice, but they failed. Adam alayhi salam is supposed to have a choice and succeed. He's supposed to demonstrate that before Allah Azza wa Jalla. As a nation, Banu Israel were supposed to show all the other nations what it means to obey Allah and get the best of this world and get the best of the next world. The role of the Israelites, the reason Allah gave them prophet after prophet after prophet, the reason Allah preferred them is not because they are racially superior. It's not because of their race, it's not because of their language. The reason Allah chose them is because they were supposed to demonstrate to all the other nations of the world what it means to obey Allah. So all other nations of the world could see that model and be impressed with that model and come to the way of Allah. So you know how we have da'wah as an individual? One person talks to a Christian or a Jewish friend or a Hindu friend or a Buddhist friend and is telling them about Islam. That's da'wah as an individual. But there's also such a thing as da'wah as a nation. When a nation is built upon the model of Allah's teachings, then the existence of that nation itself is da'wah. Itself sends a message. And if one person can make da'wah to 1,000 people, can you imagine what the da'wah of a nation looks like? It can affect the entire world. If that model exists, it will affect the entire world. This was their job, but they failed. And when they failed, Allah reminded them that this job of theirs is not just because they're children of Israel, they're actually children of Ibrahim. So the next story in the surah is not Banu Israel, it goes back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Because they were supposed to be like their father, Ibrahim. And so here, what I'd like to share with you is another continuation. It's very simple to remember. I hope, inshallah ta'ala, you'll keep it in your mind for today's discussion. The first story was which one, you tell me? Adam alayhi salam. Adam alayhi salam was tested, yes or no? He was tested. Israel is the second story, right? Were they tested, yes or no? They were tested. Ibrahim alayhi salam is the third story. Are they tested? Is he tested, yes or no? Yes. Three stories, and in all of them, the main characters are tested, yes? In the case of Adam alayhi salam, did he pass the test or did he fail the test? Huh? It's okay, you can say it. I'm not going to kick you out. He failed the test. They ate from the tree. But he can make it up later by doing istighfar, right? He apologized because that's the way of humanity. Sometimes we will fail and we'll ask Allah for an apology. We'll make istighfar and we can come back, right? That's the first story of a failure, but then you can recover. The second story is the Israelites. Did they pass the test or they fail the test? There's a difference between Adam and Banu Israel. Adam failed, but apologized. The Israelites failed, but they refused to apologize. Actually, they became even more arrogant. Instead of becoming humble after failing, they became even more arrogant after failing. What's the third story that I mentioned? Ibrahim. Did he pass the test or fail the test? He passed all of them. So you have three scenarios. You can fail and make it up. You can fail and become worse, or you can pass. Three tests. And then, in the surah, the next story is the story of this ummah. From here on, this surah is talking about this ummah, us, the Muslims. And the question hasn't been answered. Did we pass the test? Did we fail the test? Are we going to recover from it? Well, the reason we're mentioned here is because now three case studies are there before us. We hope to be like Ibrahim alayhi salam, that we pass the test. In case we fail the test, we hope to be like who? Adam alayhi salam. Because in case we fail any test, we should make istighfar and fix ourselves. We hope that we never become like who? Banu Israel, who pass the test and become arrogant and keep failing. Or fail the test and become arrogant and keep failing. Now it's our turn to be tested. And now that we are the chosen nation, by the way, Banu Israel were removed from this position, and now that we are supposed to be the children of Ibrahim alayhi salam, we're supposed to carry that responsibility. We are now given that title. We are now being transformed. And in these ayat, we're going to see the phrase, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً. That is how we made you into an ummah. You are now the nation. But before I get to that, just these few elements. The first of them, the Muslims see themselves as the continuation of the same battle that started with Adam alayhi salam. The battle between the side of the angels and the side of the shayateen. We are actually the final soldiers in that battle. That's what we are. That's the thought of a Muslim. Then, we are supposed to be the people who recognize that we are not the first ones to be chosen. There was a nation who was chosen before us. And what happened with that nation? They were replaced. Replaced by who? Us. If Allah did that once, He can do it again. إِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn away, if you fail, He will replace you with a nation other than you, and they won't be like you. He told that to us. So we don't say, oh, Bani Israel, their turn is over, now it's our turn. Yes. Because if you think you're special and I'm special, and that's it, we have the special label, then we are no different than who? Bani Israel. That's part of our identity. We realize that we are replaceable. We are entirely replaceable. Allah will take nations today that are Christian, Hindu, Jewish, other nations, and they may become the Muslims of tomorrow. They may do that. And Allah has no problem doing that. And He's done it before. يَأْتِي بِقَوْمٍ آخَرِينَ. He'll bring another nation in your place. He'll bring another people in your place altogether. So the thinking of the Muslim is that we are not irreplaceable. We are not permanent. We don't own Islam. Islam owns us. We don't own it. The third piece of our identity is that we are actually, this is very important, we see ourselves as the practicers of the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. This is really important. The name of our religion, Islam, actually comes from Ibrahim alayhi salam. رَبَّنَا وَاجْعَلْنَا مُسْلِمَيْنِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِنَا أُمَّةً مُسْلِمَةً إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَفِي هَذَا. Over and over again in the Quran we learn that the idea of Islam, of complete submission to Allah, unconditional, I will obey Allah no matter how difficult the commandment, that is the legacy of our father, Ibrahim alayhi salam. Our religion is actually, one of the names of Islam in the Quran is Millata Abikum Ibrahim, the religion of your father, Ibrahim. This is extremely important. Actually, even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we say this is the religion of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We say that. But even Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is told, فَاتَّبِعْ مِلَّةَ إِبْرَاهِيمَ حَنِيفًا. You follow the religion of Ibrahim. You must follow the religion of Ibrahim. This is not a lecture about that, but in just a couple of minutes, I want to give you a quick picture of how much we are the religion of Ibrahim. How many pillars in Islam? not a hard question, guys. How many pillars in Islam? Alright. Shahada goes back to Ibrahim. La ilaha illallah, oneness of Allah. Everybody's clear why that goes back to Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? No confusion why Hajj goes back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Is anybody confused about that? Hajj we do at the house built by Ibrahim. Every ritual is tied to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Then we make salat. وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى. Safa and Marwa goes back to Ibrahim. The slaughtering of the animal goes back to Ibrahim. All of Hajj goes back to who? Ibrahim alayhi salam. The salah. Who made the dua? رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي. Who made that dua? Ibrahim alayhi salam made that dua. Make me the one who establishes the prayer. Then, what's left is zakat. The whole Ibrahim alayhi salam's son is Ismail. كَانَ يَأْمُرُ أَهْلَهُ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ. He used to tell his family to pray and to give zakat. Where did Ismail learn his religion from? From Ibrahim. The zakat goes back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Only one thing left. Ustad, how are you going to do Ramadan and Ibrahim? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam didn't have Ramadan. Why do we celebrate Ramadan? Why? I know it's a hard question, but I'll wait for you. Let it get awkward. It's okay. Because of Quran. Quran was given to who? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We celebrate Ramadan because Quran came, right? Quran came because of the dua of Ibrahim. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم. Master, send a messenger among them who will recite your ayat. Which ayat? Quran. He'll teach them the book. Which book? Quran. And finally the dua was answered when who came? Rasulullah came. And we celebrate the coming of the Quran with what month? Ramadan. And actually in Ramadan we celebrate the answer of Ibrahim's dua. That's what we celebrate. 5 of the pillars go back to Ibrahim alayhi salam. All 5. This is the religion of Ibrahim. And that's a very important thing to understand. Extremely important to understand. So now when I've given you that, let's take a step forward. Let's not think about this in terms of religion for a second. Let's think of it in terms of a new nation. A new nation. A new nation needs Independence Day, kind of a celebration of when the nation was formed. A new nation needs a capital, right? A new nation needs a constitution. A new nation needs a name. What's the name? Muslimin. From Islam. Comes from who? Ibrahim alayhi salam. What's the constitution? The book of Allah, the Quran. Now, this surah has given us the name Ummah, Ummatan Wasata. We've been given a name, and we've been given the name Muslim. Later on in the surah, we're going to be given our Independence Day, or actually Independence Month. What is that? Ramadan. That's part of us becoming a new nation. We used to fast on the same days as the Jews, but now we're going to fast on our own days, which is the days of Ramadan. Then the capital of faith was considered Jerusalem. But now there's a new capital. What's the new capital? It's Makkah. It's the Kaaba. And that's what we're going to learn about today. Because a new nation needs a new capital. So in every sense, a new nation is being formed that is separated from the previous nation. Which was the previous chosen nation? Banu Israel. Okay? Now, as this shift is happening, one last thing. Thousands of years ago, Ibrahim alayhi salam, in the surah, a few ayat ago, he made a dua standing next to his son Ismail. He made a dua, وَمِن ذُرِّيَّتِنَا أُمَّةً مُسْلِمَةً لَكَ. Out of our future generations, at least give us one ummah that is Muslim. And that dua, when he made it with his son, thousands of years later, Allah told it on the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He tells us in these ayat, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا. That's how we made you an ummah. As if to say, finally, I have answered the dua of Ibrahim. He made you into an ummah. We, sitting here, are actually the answer of the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Among my children, give an ummah that is Muslim. And then, ummatan muslimatan. Subhanallah. So this is just a little bit of a history of why these ayat of the change of the qibla are important. They begin with a very strange phrase. Allah says, سَيَقُولُ السُّفَهَاءُ مِنَ النَّاسِ. fools among the people are going to say. And this, the idea of fools, let's dig into that a little bit. This is the third time in Surah Al-Baqarah Allah mentions fools. The first time it was mentioned, should we believe like the fools believe? And the second time, it was actually about Ibrahim alayhi salam. وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِلَّا مَنْ سَفِهَ نَفْسَهُ. Who would turn away from the religion of Ibrahim except somebody who fools himself? And now Allah says, the fools among the people will say. Fools among the people. Well, who are the people? The people around the Prophet ﷺ, they're Muslims, they are hypocrites, there are Jews, there are Christians, even by extension you can say there are mushrikeen. And Allah says among all the people, the most foolish among them, the only ones Allah is willing to call fools, they are going to say the following. What in the world are they going to say? مَا وَلَّاهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمْ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. What turned them away from their qibla? What turned them away from their direction? So let's understand this history briefly. There are lots of different interpretations. I'll share with you the one that I find the most compelling, easy to understand and convincing, okay? Rasulullah ﷺ, according to some narrations, when he originally, it wasn't explicitly stated, but his practice was to pray towards Jerusalem. Even when he lived in Mecca, he used to pray towards Jerusalem whenever possible. As a matter of fact, when he would stand at the Kaaba, some narrations tell us, he would stand in a way that the Kaaba is in front of him and also Jerusalem is in front of him. He could line them together. And that's how he would pray. Okay? The problem was when he moved to Medina, Medina is almost, you could say in a way, in the middle. Okay, without getting too technical about the map, it's in the middle. So you cannot pray now with Jerusalem in front of you and the Kaaba in front of you also. That's not possible. To face Jerusalem, your back will be to the Kaaba. That's what's going to happen. But the Prophet ﷺ still prayed towards Jerusalem. Even when he moved to Medina, he prayed towards Jerusalem. Now, who prays also towards Jerusalem? The Jews. And it's very clear that in their public speeches, they don't think Islam is the truth. Publicly, they say Islam is made up, he's not a prophet, he's a liar, all of these things. Privately, it seems to be the case that they recognize more and more that he's Allah's prophet. And it became more and more clear to them that he is it. And Quran keeps actually illustrating that they're hiding what they know. They hide the truth. لا يكتمون الحق وهم يعلمون. They hide the truth and they know. So publicly, no. Islam. Privately, oh my God. Like there's a famous incident I mentioned in the Baqarah series of Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He walked into where they study, the Jews, the rabbis, they study in a synagogue, you can say. He walked in to a synagogue and he just started talking to them. So why don't you like Islam? What's your problem with the Quran? And he says, you know this said? He keeps exposing all our secrets. Like things they've been hiding in their book, Quran keeps exposing over and over and over again. But the thing is, at least publicly, they were telling the world, this religion is false. I want you to understand this scenario. If a Jewish friend of mine thinks that I have the wrong religion, Islam is wrong, whether I pray towards Kaaba, or I pray towards Disney World, or I pray towards California, he doesn't care. It's not his problem. I could pray upwards or downwards or backwards, I could pray on my head, it's no big deal. It's wrong anyway, why should he care? When the Prophet ﷺ decided, and Allah revealed to him silently without telling him it seems, to start praying towards the Kaaba. When he starts praying towards the Kaaba, the Jewish community is very offended. Wait, what? Why are you pray towards Jerusalem? Why are you changing direction? If this is not your religion, why do you care? You're not supposed to care, right? But the fact that they were offended and started making a joke out of, hey, how can they just change their direction? That exposed something. It exposed that they know that this is the right religion. And it also exposed that they know that so long as he's praying towards Jerusalem, Allah is still not that angry. I mean, he's angry, but he's still, he's praying in the same direction. He's fasting on the same days, you know. So we're still kind of the same. It's okay. We've messed with prophets before. We can mess with this one, no problem. But when the capital is changed, it's like Allah is saying, this is a new nation. You're not part of it. And the only way you can be part of this nation, you have to change your direction too. And they got upset. And what they were hiding all along came out, and they said, مَا وَلَّاهُمْ عَنْ قِبْلَتِهِمُ الَّتِي كَانُوا عَلَيْهَا. What turned them away from their direction? It was their direction. قِبْلَتِهِمْ, the Idafa suggesting, come on guys, that's your direction. Do it towards Jerusalem. The one that used to be committed to. What turned them away from their direction that they used to be committed to? When they said that, it foolishly explained and made it public that they were hiding the truth. And thus they are the fools among the people. You understand why they're foolish now? They couldn't hold it in. And Allah says sayaqul, meaning they will say. Allah even called it, they're going to come and say. And He doesn't say who they are, He just says fools. He doesn't say sayaqulul Yahud or sayaqulul Nasara or sayaqulul Mushrikun. He didn't say that. He said fools will say this. And you could even argue that perhaps Sahaba, when they first received these ayat, there's no knowledge of who's going to come and say this. And then later on, the rabbis show up and say, hey, what's going on here? Oh, fools, I see. You know, Allah told us about you guys. You know, you know, فَيُفْهَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا سَفِيهَ غَيْرَهُمْ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْمُبَالَغَةِ. It's as though Allah is saying there's no bigger fool than them. That's what it implies. But what Allah says in response is so beautiful. Pay attention to this part. What should you say to them? قُلْ لِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. Tell them Allah owns the east and the west. Tell them Allah owns the east and the west. You know why that's important? It's important because إِنَّمَا الْعِبْرَةُ لِامْتِثَالِ أَمْرِهِ. The only important thing is that you obey Allah. The direction is not important. What is important is that you obey Allah. Even before these ayat. What Allah said before is وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. When He was talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam, He said وَلِلَّهِ الْمَشْرِقُ وَالْمَغْرِبُ. Allah owns the east and Allah owns the west. فَأَيْنَمَا تُوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Wherever you may turn, wherever you are in the world, that is where the face of Allah is. That wasn't even an ayah about the Qibla or the Haram or nothing. Allah said, you will find Allah wherever you are. Why? For the Jews, if you're not praying towards Jerusalem, then it's like kufr. Now we turn towards the Qibla, and how can you? Allah is over there. And now Allah is saying, actually, Allah is not over there. Allah owns the east and the west. Wherever you are, you'll find Allah.